All right, guys. Okay, so welcome to our 40-day Bible study, first and foremost, where we start in Corinthians, if or First Corinthians. If you haven't been with us, you can go back and watch all of the replays on YouTube in the playlist under Bible study. So as I process through, and again, you guys know, God said, "Hey, do this." I show up, I read stuff, I tell you what God's telling me, and then I like get done, and He's like, "Hey, Lori, did you know? Hey, Lori, guess what? Hey, Lori, be aware of this." So, I like okay, especially I think it was yesterday or the day before. I think it was yesterday we were popping back and forth where I'm like, okay, this is from the physical perspective. Okay, this is from the spiritual perspective. Okay, this is from the physical perspective. And so as I was meditating this morning, God was like, okay, Lori, you know that you didn't like specify that you're flipping back and forth between like, okay, here's the physical, okay, here's the spiritual representation. He's like, you didn't mention that it is that way for you, for me, right? And so if you come into this container and you are super drinking milk, then you probably won't love what I'm saying, or you'll take what I'm saying and it will become a demon, right? Because I'll say, oh my gosh, free will. And then you'll go do free will from this place of guilt and shame. Yes. So the thing that God wanted me to say again was, guys, I teach a model that lays out our human and our spirit. Okay. If we're made in the image of God, we are 100% human, 100% spirit. Okay. And so the reason that I'm going back and forth and back and forth and like, oh, this represents this. Oh, this represents this. And this is what I want to make crystal clear. This is the part I want to make crystal clear. Like God was like, tell him this. And I'm like, okay. And I want to make it crystal clear. Like this is how God is speaking to me. This is what God is revealing to me. Put somebody else doing exactly what I'm doing, reading exactly what I'm doing, or reading exactly what I'm reading. And they're going to go, this is what God's telling me. This is what God's telling me. This is what God is telling me. Why is that? Well, you guys, because God is alive and so is the Bible, right? And so when we look at the fact that God is alive and so is the Bible, and everything is relative to me, and every condition that I experience is based on what is relative to me, right? And so when I'm reading what I'm reading, this is what God is telling me. This is what God is moving through me. So if you hear me read something and you're like, what Lori just said doesn't really resonate, ask God, is it because I need something different? Or is this because you're growing me in something different? Okay, guys, the way that I teach and from the perspective that I teach is for very mature, very mature, conscious people. Now, hear me well. Okay, mature in love, not mature in knowledge, right? We've talked about that from the beginning of First Corinthians, right? Chapter 1. What was chapter 1? You don't know shit. 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 Well, actually, I think that like Paul was saying, I don't know shit. I don't know shit, right? I don't know anything. Okay. I don't cognitively want to believe. I don't cognitively want to claim I know anything because the only thing that is real and true is love. And love is conditional in this moment, in relationship, in context to us, me, you, the information, right? And so if I claim to know something, but I don't claim to know the people that I'm talking to, I could do damage, well, let me rephrase that. If I claim to know something, but I don't take into consideration the maturity of the people who are listening, I could do damage, right? So if I take somebody, and we talked about this yesterday, the difference between an unmarried woman and a virgin. Now, remember, you guys, if we believe religiously, then you're supposed to be a virgin until you get married, right? I mean, that's what I was taught in the church. But the Bible is telling you there's a difference between a virgin and an unwed woman. Yes? There's something different about things in context. Okay. So I just want to be perfectly clear. This is why I keep saying, yes, I want to be challenged. Yes, I want you guys to question. Right. I have to tell you a really funny story. Side note, we are going to actually do some Bible thumping in a little bit. But I feel like so much of sometimes people don't put things in context and they're just running their mouth. And then the people who are listening aren't connected. They're connected with the cognitive information and not the understanding of the aspect of love of this. Right. So when God started speaking really clearly to me and like saying, Lori, I want you to teach this. I want you to share this with other people. I'm like, I know myself too well and I'm super charismatic. People like to follow me. I'm going to be a cult leader because, oh, wait, I'm charismatic and arrogant. I forgot that part. I'm charismatic and arrogant, right? Where did my arrogance come from? Well, there was a part of me that one, thought I was better than other people because of what I knew. Now, why did I think I was better than other people because of what I knew? Because I didn't understand how it worked yet, right? Now, what's the other part of arrogance? Well, the other part of arrogance is I didn't know that I had value because I breathed. I thought I had value based on my knowledge. Therefore, my knowledge puffed me up, right? We talked about that either yesterday or the day before, right? My knowledge puffed me up because I didn't know my value because I breathe. Yes. And so I would always talk about how I'm going to be a cult leader. I'm so afraid to be a cult leader. I don't want to teach this like openly because I will totally be a cult leader. And I remember John going, babe, the fact that you like are afraid to be a cult leader is the indicator you're not going to be a cult leader. I was like, okay, but I'm so afraid, right? And so that's been a lot of like what I've had to navigate because I have known my arrogance, right? And yes, my charisma, but that will always be a part of me. My arrogance doesn't necessarily have to be, right? So as I've grown in my love for me, as I've grown in my allowance to receive love from God, as I have become a greater version of Christ in me as me, now I'm like, I'm not going to be a cult leader because I actually don't want people to believe what I believe. I want people to believe what God is speaking to them. And I am simply just a messenger. This message is only a message to me through me. And then you guys get to take what's super yummy, what resonates. And guys, if it doesn't, one, let it go, leave it here. It's not for you. Or two, please question me, press me, argue with me. Like, I want you guys to know that you know this for you, not because I said so. Right. So it's funny because a lot of times in coaching, I'll sit there and I'll be like, okay, well, why? Well, why do you believe that? Why is that true? Okay, why? Well, what's the root of that? What's underneath that? And my clients are like, ah! And I'm like, okay, but you can't just give an answer to give the answer. Guess why? Because then it's not yours. It's something that you cognitively know because I told you. I don't want you knowing it because I told you. I want you knowing it because God told you. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. All right. You guys ready? I'm so ready. Guys, okay, one more little side note. I like I said from the very beginning, like this, and God's like, Lori, I have something for you. Go do this Bible study. Lori, I have something for you. Go do this Bible study. Lori, I have something for you. Go do this Bible study. And I kept resisting because I'm like, nah, I don't want to worry about the technology. And I don't want to worry about if, people show up, and I don't want to be on a schedule. And I don't want to like say things that, right back to that whole, like, I don't want to say things and have people like not understand or whatever. And again, when it got to a point in my personal life where I was moving through a situation that I really needed to press into God, I'm like, okay, well, he's been saying do this Bible study. So here I am now doing this Bible study. Now, is everything in perfect timing? Yes. Did I thwart the plans of God? No. Did I not do what God told me to do? Yes. But did I disobey? No. That's where grace comes from, right? He was like, hey, Lori, I have something for you. Do you want to receive this? No, thank you. I don't want to receive it. And he's like, okay. Hey, Lori, I have something for you. Do you want to receive this? I'm like, no. He's like, okay. And then things in my life got to a point where I'm like, excuse me, can I receive that thing now? Right? It's not about, like, again, over here. And guys, in our coaching container, we call it the black phase, the white phase, and the red phase, right? So in the black phase, where I'm not, I'm still drinking milk, right? I need to obey. I just need to do what I'm told to do because I don't have the maturity to actually like filter through the information and know what's God, what's me, what's my ego, what's my unworthiness, what's my arrogance, what's my worthiness, right? Because sometimes, guys, worthiness can look like arrogance, right? Mm-hmm. So, anyway, okay, what was my point? Okay, going back, when I'm immature, I need to just obey. The more I mature, it's not about just obeying. It's about being in relationship. And God's like, I have something for you. Do you want it? Not, Lori, do this, right? It's, I have something for you. Do you want it? Yes, Wendy.
Lori?
Yes, ma'am.
You said black, red, white, and you described black. And then I was waiting for the red and the white. And you're like, oh my God, what was I supposed to talk about? But I don't know if you were supposed to talk about white or red.
Okay. So I totally will. So in our container, the way that we coach is based on an understanding of consciousness transformation. Okay. And there's 3 phases. The white phase, though, has 2 phases within it. And if you look at alchemy, guys, if you go study alchemy, guess how many phases there are? There's 3. And then if you go to advanced alchemy, there's 4. Black phase, white phase, red phase. And then they have a black phase, a white phase, a yellow phase, and a red phase. But I don't like the yellow phase because it looks like pee. So I just break the white phase into first half and second half. There you go. That's me. Okay. So the black phase is basically, I don't know what I don't know, and life is happening to me. The first half of the white phase is now I cognitively know that I don't know something and life is happening for me. The second half of the white phase is now I cognitively am capable of the thing that I wasn't aware of, right? That I couldn't do, and life is happening through me. The red phase is now I unconsciously function in the choice that I made through not knowing, and now life is happening as me. Okay. So when we talk about the black phase and the red phase, and like, this is what we're talking about, is this alchemy of our consciousness. Yes. Because again, you guys, I'm never not in right standings before God. Why do I act like a douche? Because I don't know I'm in right standings before God. So I act like a douche. If I know I'm in right standings before God and I'm living that way, then I'm functioning as love. But if I don't know it, I'm a douche, right? And there's nothing wrong with being a douche. We're all a douche at times, right? This is what the Bible says when it says, if you don't admit you're a sinner, but then guess what else it says? You're already forgiven, you're already whole, you're already healed, you're already in right standings, you're not a sinner, right? And then we go, wait, you just said I was a sinner, and now I'm not a sinner. Okay, you guys, because if you don't understand this from the perspective of we are 2 whole parts, 100% human, 100% spirit. My spirit is always whole. It's always healed. It already knows everything. It already. And then my human is having an experience where all of this is unfolding. Yeah. So, sorry guys, just making adjustments. Okay. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about the different phases. And, yeah, the alchemy of, our consciousness. So when I first become consciously aware of desiring to be in relationship with God, and he says, do something, I do it in obedience, not because I understand his heart, because positionally he's the authority. And if I cognitively believe that he's good, then I can assume that the choice is good, whatever he's telling me to do. Right? But guys, if I stay there, I stay a victim. Now I'm just doing things because that's what I've been told to do, not because I'm an active participant in the relationship. So as I mature in my consciousness, now God says, hey, Lori, you can choose whatever you want to choose. But if you choose this, it's going to be so good. It's going to be better than you could ever think or imagine. But it's your choice. And guys, for a long time, I was like, nah, I don't want that gift. No, thanks, God. I don't want that gift. I think I'm just going to do it my way. And he's not up there going, Lori's disobedient. He's up there going, yeah, girl, let me know when you're ready. So good, right? So good. And then when I was ready, right, I was like, okay, I'm doing this 40-day Bible study. Guys, I have been so blessed. And like, talk about being plugged in. I feel like and again, why is it so important right now for me to be so plugged in? Because of the tumultuousness that's going on in my life. But here's the thing, internally, this is what I'm doing. Why? Because I'm plugged in. Like, I'm all good. I know I'm right. And then there's situations outside of me that are doing this. But guys, this doesn't matter anymore because I'm not riding these waves anymore. I'm riding this one. And life is doing this because guess what? Life happens as me when I'm plugged in. What's as me? Love, Christ consciousness, God in me as love. Yeah. So good, right? Okay. Now we're officially ready to start 18 minutes after we started, but that was good, right? I told you guys about God. So there you go. Okay. Here we go. We're starting at 26. Okay. And guys, remember, this is in context to what we talked about yesterday. So if you're listening today and you're like, what in the actual fuck is she talking about? Just go back to yesterday because it'll put it all in context because we started at 7, but it's really long and I'm long-winded. So the two together, sorry about it. Okay. But if any man think that he behaveth himself uncomingly towards his virgin, if he passed the flower of her age, if she passed the flower of her age and needs so require, let him do what he will. He sinneth not, let them marry. Okay, guys. If you are functioning in a place, okay, I'm going to give you this context. And this is going to seem to your cognitive that Lori is not talking about the same thing. Okay. So don't listen with your cognitive. Well, you can listen with your cognitive, but plug in to your heart. Okay. If there's a chocolate cake and I have an issue with food, which I have and still have some residue, right? And food is my coping mechanism to escape from having to think where I think that I'm not capable of navigating life, right? Choose your coping mechanism of choice and put this in context, okay? If my coping mechanism is food and I see chocolate cake, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's this situation and I can't really deal with it. And and I'm not aware enough to plug in, right? I'm struggling to plug in. I'm trying to do it in my own strength, not because I know I'm doing it in my own strength, because I haven't matured to the point where I recognize the plugging in, right? So, or the value of plugging in, right? The long-term investment of plugging in. Oh, that's so good. The long-term investment of plugging in. I'm in this moment dealing with we'll call it a crisis for the sake of words. I'm in this moment looking at a crisis, right? I am not aware of the long-term gain of plugging in. I just want to be out of the pain of the chaos. Here's a chocolate cake. Okay. And now I go, oh man, I want that chocolate cake because I want to escape. Okay. Now, if I stay in my unconscious of what's going on around me, I go, no chocolate cake, no chocolate cake. I'm not supposed to eat chocolate cake. Chocolate cake is bad. I don't want chocolate cake. I'm functioning from my physical only, going, no chocolate cake, no chocolate cake, no chocolate cake. Guess what happens, guys? I stress myself out so bad. My nervous system starts freaking out. I go into fight or flight. And what do? I eat the whole chocolate cake. Yeah. Yeah. And guys, what I feel like this is talking about for how do I apply this today? Looks like this. I'm aware that I want some chocolate cake to escape what I'm dealing with right now. I feel like I'm not capable. I'm going to plug into the best of my ability as my human matures. I'm going to plug in spiritually, not really seeing the value of plugging in, but I'm going to trust this process and I'm going to plug in. And then guess what? I'm going to eat some chocolate cake. I'm going to eat some chocolate cake because you know what? Right now, this feels shitty. My human is having an experience, but guess what? I'm aware of what's going on. I'm going to plug in. I'm going to have some chocolate cake. How much chocolate cake do you think I would actually eat if I give myself allowance? I let go of the guilt and the shame and I just have some chocolate cake. I might actually just have a piece of chocolate cake. And guess what, guys? My nervous system isn't freaking out. I haven't dumped so much cortisol into my system. My fight or flight is not on fire in survival mode, hanging on to every calorie. Are you guys catching this? Is this motherfucking sexy or what? This is so cool, you guys. Because now, guess what? I'm allowed to be 100% plugged in the rightness of me and allow my human to have a physical experience. Yeah. Yes, Wendy.
Like you said yesterday, it just doesn't have power over you, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
You can do it, but don't let it have power over you. Love it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, that's exactly it. Because if I resist, because that's bad. Now I've just given it power over me. Thank you, Wendy, for making that point. Awesome. So good. So good. See, group effort, guys. Okay. So that's what that's alluding to or talking, or you know what, revealing to me right now in this moment in what I'm supposed to tell you guys. There you go. All right. But if any man thinks, okay, nevertheless, he that standeth steadfast in his heart, having no necessity, but hath power over his own will, and hath so decreed in his heart that he will keep his virgin, doeth well. Guys, what does that mean? It's exact. If you sit there and you go, okay, I know the investment of being plugged in. And as much as I want to eat that cake, I'm gonna choose not to eat the cake, right? Guys, there's three things going on here. We can either resist in the wrongness of us, resist in the wrongness of us. And the result of that is I eat the whole chocolate cake and my nervous system is all stressed out. And I have all these cortisol and stress hormones all pumping through my body. Or I stand in the rightness of me and I go, you know what? I'm plugged in. I'm dealing with this situation. I'm going to go ahead and have some cake. I've no longer got all the stress hormones in my body, and I have a piece of chocolate cake. Or what this verse is saying, or if you're plugged in and you go, you know what? I see the value of not even having the one piece of cake, because I recognize that eating the cake is a coping mechanism. Is the coping mechanism okay? Yes, as long as I'm plugged in. So as long as I'm plugged in, now I can act in the rightness of me, whether I have the chocolate cake or don't have the chocolate cake, it doesn't matter, right? Neither it like the chocolate cake isn't the thing with power over me, like Wendy was just saying. And everything is allowed. Eat the chocolate cake, don't eat the chocolate cake. The results of our choices are different. Now, hear me well. The result of me being plugged in is me owning my power. But the shift is also in the choice that I made. If I make a choice to eat the cake, no problem. But recognize then at some point in time, you'll have to not choose the chocolate cake if you want to be fully free. Prove to yourself that you're free from not eating the chocolate cake, right? Which is that long term. But if you think that you're not eating the chocolate cake and you're resisting the chocolate cake, you're not eating the chocolate cake plugged in that will lead to life. You're eating the chocolate cake back over here in the wrongness and the shame and the guilt because you're resisting. Resisting and saying no are two different things. Guys, are you ready for this? What it looks like on the outside is probably exactly the same. What it looks like on the outside. Ooh, okay, let's do something really cool in this. Let's go back to our black phase, white phase, red phase. Okay. In the black phase, I'm resisting eating the cake. Resist because something's wrong with me, and the cake is bad, and the cake is bad, and something's wrong with me, and coping mechanisms are bad, and addictions are bad, and right? That's the black phase. Right? Now I go and the result of that is more guilt, more shame, more chocolate cake eating. Okay. In the white phase, I can either choose the chocolate cake or not choose the chocolate cake. It's no problem. There's no problem with choosing the chocolate cake or not choosing the chocolate cake. Whatever, just choose. Okay. In the red phase, I don't choose the chocolate cake. Just like in the black phase, not choosing. But this is not choosing externally, but definitely connected internally. Over here in the red phase, not choosing externally, also not attached internally. Now it's just no chocolate cake. So good. And now the results are a greater understanding of my rightness, a greater understanding of my ability to choose, a greater awareness of me as love. So good, right? Yes, Kim.
So my question is, energetically, if I am doing the thing and not eating the cake, but eating the cake is still fun for me, will it make me fat?
Say that one more time.
If energetically I'm aligned and I'm doing all the things, but I still want to eat the cake because it's fun for me, will I gain weight? Because I'm free of it.
You might not.
Okay.
Ultimately, we don't gain weight because of what we eat. We gain weight because of how we perceive the power of the food for me to gain weight. Right? So ultimately, the pat answer, the blanket answer is in relationship to what we're talking about. No, eat the cake. It's all no problem. Right? However, personally, I can't know that unless it's the two of us talking in relationship to Kim. because you
Right.
asked the question as a blanket question.
I'm sorry,
Right?
for me, then, energetically for me, when I think about it, for me, I'm like, oh, so I can eat the cake and it doesn't affect me because I'm not putting weight to the cake, which isn't putting weight to me.
And here's where I would go, and you're the only one who will know that for you. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, hear me well. If we were just chatting, just the two of us, and you said, hey, Lori, energetically, am I free to eat this cake? I could answer your question.
Right.
Right. But when we're talking about what we're talking about now, I can't give a blanket answer except for based on the law. Yes, it's correct. Right.
Got you. Okay.
But if in this context, I said, oh, yes, Kim, that's true for you. Somebody else might only hear part of it and go, oh, look, that's true for me. And then they get fat and they're like, what happened? Right.
Right.
Which is why this is so cool to understand that the law is personal and impersonal. Personal being, if you and I were having a conversation, love would look very different. But we're not having a conversation. There's people watching and listening. And so now, as somebody who understands how this works, I will not answer your question personally in this section unless I set it up that I'm going, hey guys, I'm not teaching anything. I'm just going to talk to each individual person. And we set it up like that, right? And this is where things get jacked up in our heads and energy, because somebody's teaching something from the perspective of the impersonal law of, well, theoretically, what you just said, true, right? But here's what's cool, you guys. I know Kim well enough that I knew she was asking a blanket question with her head, but her heart was asking for her personally. And so because I understand how it all works, I can answer the question a blanket way and then answer her little heart question and go, girl, like, let's chat, just the two of us, because there's something different than I would say over here, right? That's the personal and impersonal. The law is the law is the law. It's impersonal. If you jump off a roof, you're going to go to the ground, right? Impersonal law of gravity. Yet there's a personal law of gravity that says, okay, but if I'm in a hot air balloon, I can not fall to the ground, right? Because there's some other different law in place, personal. Yeah. So I love this.
Okay.
I love that you asked that question, because it allowed me to articulate something that I think is super important when we're learning things cognitively and understanding that our cognitive is the impersonal. When I get to my heart, that's the personal. It's exactly what we talked about. I can say things, guys, but until you tap into your heart, your personal revelation with God, then I'm just telling you my revelation. Is it beneficial? Yes. Will it always be beneficial? No, because then you wouldn't need your own personal relationship with God. And that is what I feel like God wants me to convey, is like, not the, I mean, we get enough information. How do we apply the information? Right. And that's really the part that I feel like God wants more of, at least as far as people who are available to listen to what I'm saying. So, yeah.
Very good. So good. Yeah.
Thank you for asking. I adore you. You guys are so smart. I love that you guys are here. All right. So then, he that give her in marriage doeth well, but he that give her not in marriage doeth better. Right? Now, again, do well and do better. Right? Our human cognitiveness will go, better is better. Better is better. So I don't want to do just well. I want to do better. But guys, guess what? In context of the law, right? On the spirit side, everything is the same. Everything is the same. These two things are both energy. On the spirit side, same. It's just energy. On the human side, however, if I want to make a phone call, this is better. If I want to control my computer, this is better. Context based on relationship. Yes? So when it's saying, if you do this, you did well. If you do this, you did better. Now, again, you guys, hear me well in our example. If I'm plugged in and I eat the chocolate cake, I did well. Why? Because I was plugged in. Right? That's all that really matters. Now, next time I'm stressed out because of the situation in my life, will I have to then make another decision to eat the cake or not eat the cake? Yeah, I will. I will. And I might keep eating the cake. And I will not get the same results as if I don't eat the cake. From the perspective of what we're talking about in using the cake as a tool to escape a little bit of the chaos. Okay. Now, if I'm plugged in and I don't eat the cake, I did weller. Why? Because I broke a little bit of that physical connection to the cake. Because I'm still using the cake to cope. Now, am I using the cake to cope plugged in? So am I experiencing grace? Yes. However, if I'm plugged in and I don't eat the cake because I am aware of the long-term investment of not eating the cake. Now, again, it's not about the cake. It's about the power that I possess in me or what I'm perceiving is the power outside of me. Because in the moment that I'm plugged in, okay, I'm tapped into my power, which is why I'm not going to eat the whole cake. But I'm still giving power to the situation, which is why I still want to eat the cake. And this goes back to a little bit of what Kim was saying, right? That's why I said I can't know that unless I actually tap in personally to Kim, right? Because she might say, oh, I totally feel like I'm free to eat the cake. I'm free to eat the cake. So she eats the cake and then she gets fat. Now we're using this in a really general. And then she goes, Lori, I really thought that I was free to eat the cake. Well, clearly you weren't free to eat the cake because the cake still had power over you, right? But this is where, when the Bible says we can't know our own hearts, we can't know what's in our subconscious hearts until when? Until we actually allow ourselves to go there and really tap in and eat the cake, don't eat the cake. How does that feel? What happened for you? Are you asking God, right? Are you really able to say no? Or are you giving yourself allowance to say yes because you think you can say no? Right? And guys, this is why, do you see why this is for the mature? Not everybody's going to listen to what I'm saying right now and go, oh my gosh, that totally makes sense. Right? Some people are going to be like, this bitch is crazy. Like, what the fuck is she talking about? Right? Some people are going to get on and do that. I'm not talking to them. But if you're here and you're listening, I'm talking to you. And this is the invitation into this red phase as me, God as me, Christ as me, love as me. As me. Now, me and my Christ consciousness are one. Now I'm not sitting here going, ooh, what's love? What's not love? How do I do this? How do I not do this? Now, is there a time for that? Yes. But the invitation is that I can just show up in life and I be love. And now it doesn't matter if Wendy's standing in front of me, if Monica's standing in front of me, or if Kim's standing in front of me. Guess why? Because I'm not going to act the same to all of them. Why? Because I'm love. And Kim's going to need one thing, and Monica's going to need something different, and Wendy's going to need something even different. And if I'm functioning as love, I'm going to actually have the capacity to love each of you personally and individually the way you need to be loved, which is exactly what we've been talking about If you're immature, don't listen to me. It'll jack your head, right? If you're listening to me and you're like, what? This is amazing. Keep listening. Do you guys get this? Because I'm not right. What I'm saying isn't right. Is it appropriate for people who are like desiring some really crazy, funky growth? Yep. Yep. But it's not appropriate for everybody, right? Because everything is allowed, but not everything is beneficial, right? Eat the cake, don't eat the cake. But guess what? There might be something more beneficial. Yeah? Cool. All right. So when it says better, it's talking about better from the perspective of my human, not of my spirit. And as long as my spirit is plugged in, same. Will my human have a different experience? Yes. Right? That's why we separate our human and our spirit, guys, because now we can understand this shit. So good. All right. The wife is bound by the law as long as her husband liveth. But if her husband is dead, she is at liberty in the marriage to whom she will only in the Lord. But she is happier if she so abides after my judgment. And I think also that I have the Spirit of God. Okay, what was that? Let me read that again. Okay. The wife is bound by the, okay, I got that part. But she is happier if she so abide. So abide in what? Go back up to the previous verse. She is at liberty to be married to whom she will, only in the Lord. Ah, that's the abiding in what? Plugged in. Okay. After my judgment, and I think also that I have the Spirit of God. Okay, still not sure what that is. So, okay, God, like, give me some more revelation because I'm not understanding that. So let me start back up at 39. The wife is bound by the law as long as her husband liveth. Guys, in context of my chocolate cake, what is the law? If I don't want to be fat, or I don't want to escape, I don't want to cope, I don't want to be addicted, okay, then I need to abide by the law of my human, which is don't do that thing. Don't do that thing. Right? It's what we talked about earlier. When God says, "Hey, Lori, do this," and I'm immature, I obey. The more I mature, I get to choose. Choose based on what? Being plugged in. So that's what this is talking about, right? If her husband is alive, if this addiction is alive, right? But as soon as that dies, as soon as I'm divorced, right? Not divorced, as soon as I'm single from because of the death of this thing, now it doesn't matter what I do. Eat the cake, don't eat the cake. I'm free. Free based on what? Because I'm plugged in. And that's really all that matters. And as soon as I'm plugged in, guess what? I'll abide in that. So I'll be like, no chocolate cake. I don't really care. I don't need chocolate cake. Chocolate cake, whatever. I don't need chocolate cake. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Yeah? I'm free. I'm completely free. I'm free to have more. I'm free to have none. I'm free to eat. I'm free to even eat the whole chocolate cake. But guess what? I probably won't. Why? Because if I'm eating the chocolate cake out of coping, addiction, or escapism, I'm not free. But if I'm free to eat the whole cake. I'm free to eat a piece of cake. I'm free to not eat the cake. I'm actually free. But guys, we can't ever know that until we actually enter into that energetic space and go, how do I really feel about this? Can I actually say no, or am I resisting? You might not know until you actually take the action. Then the result of it will show up and communicate to you. Yeah. Okay. Enough on that. Okay. What time is it? 10:15. Oh, guys, that's 45 minutes. It took me 45 minutes to get through 4 verses. You're welcome. But that was good, right? That was super juicy. I loved it. All right, you guys, you're amazing. I so appreciate you being here. You make my heart so happy to see your beautiful faces as I just vomit all over and just be in this space of plugged in, loving God, letting God love me, being a witness to God loving you. And yeah, love, 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 love. All right, you guys, have a wonderful Saturday. I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is the 9:30. I don't know why I was thinking 9:30 and tomorrow was 9, but tomorrow's 9:32. So see you at 9:30 tomorrow. Bye.